And to discuss more about Indonesia's G20 presidency and the Bali summit, I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Pak Yose Rizal Damuri. Pak Yose, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Iqbal.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
The latest report shows that the G20 resulted in Bali Declaration instead of communique. What's your take on this, Pak Yose?
Well, a communique or leaders' declaration is mostly the same. Yeah, I think so the G20 leaders came up with the word communique or used the word communique until 2016. But after that, I think so the leaders prefer to use it to have declarations rather than communique in their after their summit. So if you look at the documents from last year or 2 years ago, then they always say it's a leader's declaration.
Okay, and after all, it's all the points are agreed by the
Right,
participation.
right. Yeah, that's the most important point. Yeah.
All right.
There are some kind of declarations, joint statements among the leaders, and they agree on several points, several important issues and agendas that the world really need at the moment.
Okay, President Jokowi mentioned that there are actually 52 paragraphs that include stance toward Ukrainian war and include the pandemic fund, operational resilience, sustainability trust under IMF, energy transition mechanism. And then talk about this year's G20 forum has been overshadowed by the war between Ukraine and Russia, Pak Yose. And then we are also talking about the division. How effective do you think the G20 presidency in these particular problems?
Well, G20 is, as we know, it's an economic forum. A forum that normally deals with economic issues, not security issues. But the security dimensions currently divided some member countries into several positions, actually. Yeah, and it's not really easy for Indonesia to navigate the difference. And even without the geopolitical tensions, geopolitical issues, the problems with G20 were huge, actually, especially to bridge the diverse interests, even among developing countries and with the developed countries. They have different kind of interests. So I think Indonesia really managed very well the situations, and even we didn't really have a joint statement at the ministerial level, but the leaders at the leaders levels, we managed to have some kind of declarations. I think this is very important improvement. I mean, improvement and achievements, because even keeping G20 together already a big achievement. Now with the joint declarations, with the leaders' declarations, and that give directions for global agenda, it's even greater achievement. I think we have to give 2 thumbs up to Indonesia in managing the conflicts, because if it is not Indonesia on the presidency, perhaps other members already split up, and G20 might not be working effectively.
Okay, and then one of the effect from the Russia-Ukraine war is global food crisis. Let's talk about that. The member countries of the G20 has pledged over $60 billion in fund, Pak Yose, to help ensure global food security. What is your assessment to these initiatives?
Well, there are 3 dimensions, actually, when we have to deal with the food insecurity, food crisis. The first one is at the humanitarian level, where you have to prevent the starvations, hunger, and it requires a resource deployment. Yeah. That's the first issue. The second one is to deal or to achieve or to maintain the open and free market for food products, international market. And the third one is to improve the production. I think G20 managed to deal with the first one, especially to deploy more resources for humanitarian issues in the food crisis, because it means that a country needs to pool resources, need to gather money in order to help to help countries there, or to help economies where people start to have starvations. On the second issues, the leaders' declaration actually already also touched upon that, although it didn't really, it wasn't really talked or discussed in detail under the trade minister meeting. But I think the leaders' declarations also already give some kind of direction on how free and open international market for food products has to be maintained.
Okay, and then if we talk about the energy crisis have skyrocketed even until now in some parts of the world, and then G20 member countries have been, divided regarding the cause. Some blaming sanctions on Russia, and then others blaming the war itself. So has the G20 been effective in dealing with the global energy crisis, and what could have been done by yourself?
Maybe this is G20 do not really specifically deal with the energy crisis, the current energy crisis, because this kind of crisis, energy crisis, has happened several times in the past also, and the world actually already has the market mechanisms to deal with it. Unlike the food security, unlike food crisis, where it also depends on how economies or how countries responded with their trade policy. But for energy issues, perhaps a little bit different. So G20 do not really come up with the specific solutions on that, and it's quite understandable about it. But more importantly, rather than talking specifically on this energy security, G20 and Indonesia's presidency put emphasis on the energy transition. This is even more important, I think. When we deal with energy security, it's normally deal with the short term, and current issues. While the energy transitions, it also reflects the longer term issues, and also on how we respond, we as a humanity, as a response to our existential crisis, the climate crisis. The crisis that might jeopardize everything in this world. So I think G20 is quite under Indonesia's presidency give many concrete actions, concrete agenda to deal with energy transition, including also the pledge, for example, to have the JETP, Just Energy Transition Partnership. That yesterday, I think the President Joe Biden mentions and announced it in front of other countries.
And this energy transition is also emphasized by President Jokowi on his closing speech on the G20 summit. And then you mentioned about the word concrete. It's interesting, Pak Yose. We're talking about the term concrete deliverables, actions, and policies. Indonesia has repeatedly vowed to provide concrete deliverables, actions, and policies that have a real and impact benefit. Which concrete deliverable do you think has the most impact?
Well, there are several aspects actually that Indonesia managed to get some kind of agreements or pledges. One of them is GATP, the Just Energy Transition Partnership, where currently Indonesia, the pledge is for Indonesia, But I think in the future, the pledge for a GTP would also be extended to other countries, especially developing countries, in order to do the energy transitions, their energy transition program. Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing is, of course, on the a financial intermediary fund for pandemic preparedness. This is also quite concrete, in my opinions, where a certain new agency or new institution is set up to provide emergency measures to tackle the pandemic, to prepare the world to deal with the pandemic. And this is quite concrete. Although perhaps we should also recognize that the many presidencies in the past also deliver concrete agenda, concrete results. The problem is how to implement these concrete results, how to make the pledge no longer the pledge but becomes realization. Okay. In the future, and how to keep the initiative going on, because we know that the currently, of course, G20's chairmanship or presidency change every year.
Okay.
And
the
each
next
year, the new presidency come up with new agenda.
Okay.
And they always say that this is a concrete agenda.
Yeah.
And we add more and more agenda and initiative. And so the issue is how the previous initiative can also be delivered in the future.
We'll dig deeper on the challenges because the presidency has been handed over to India for the next year. Stay with us on Jakarta Movers and Shakers. We will be back after the short break.